welcome to another episode of Wild Wisdom Podcast. This is a very special episode. This is the start of a 10 episode long series of why we love all the movies in the 80s. The 80s is a very important decade for us. We grew up during this period watching all of these fantastic films. It's a lot of actors' first time in film roles, and we want to kind of discuss our favourites, and we want to talk about perhaps some lesser known movies that came out during each year. So each episode is going to be looking at each year. This episode is 1980, of course, and we're going to start off with our favourites. So I think we'll probably kick off with Empire Strikes Back. And of course, I'm joined by the crew today, the Bad Boy Amp Studios crew. Alan.
Hello there.
And Mark.
Hello there.
This is our first time together, and we've done some one-on-one podcasts in the past, but we're going to trigger off today with Alan's love for Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, which is the second one of the original trilogy.
That is correct. This was obviously a big one. It was I think funny enough, it was actually the first Star Wars film I ever saw. Believe it or not, I saw this one first.
Yeah.
I didn't see A New Hope. It wasn't New Hope then, but I didn't see the original Star Wars film until after Empire Strikes Back. So being 4, 5 years old when I first saw it, I didn't quite understand.
So it would have been on TV?
It would, yeah. It was on TV because obviously I did the only one I saw on cinema was the one after Return of the Jedi.
So when your dad plonked you down, because you said that in the previous podcast,
that's correct, yeah.
Shut up and listen to this.
Yeah, the one he plonked me down
was
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And now, while watching it, obviously many years later, when I saw it on home video release and obviously various TV edits and resculpturing of the whole visual effects and whatnot, it's you can see it. It's a bigger film. It's a better film. Everything is just so much bigger in it.
Well, it speaks to a lot about the technology that they went from in the first one, episode 4 to episode 5, because it was all just sort of like all these ships were made, from balsa wood and plasticine and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's nice to see that evolution in the second one.
They just kind of went all out with it, because obviously I think the original one was made on kind of like a shoestring in terms of the budget, and obviously George Lucas made a deal with Fox at the time, and they kind of laughed him off, thinking you're never going to get a sequel. But he made a shed load of money from the first one, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to bother with the studio anymore to a point. I'm just going to go out and make this one myself. And he actually went to a bank and asked them for a loan. I'm making a Star Wars film, can I have this amount of money? Yes, you can. Thank you very much. And then he just got Fox basically to distribute it afterwards.
Couldn't do that now.
No, you couldn't. That's the problem.
Was this the film where he reveals to Luke that he's his dad, or is that the first?
Yeah, Dave Prowse, who obviously played Vader in the films, didn't know the lines. He had lines, but he didn't know the real lines. He
thought his voice was going to be used.
He did, yeah. The old.
So yeah, he knew next to
the old
nothing.
Yorkshireman, yeah. He didn't. He
went to West Country, wasn't he?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
He had a right burr.
Yeah. Who are Luke? I'm your father, by the way.
Oh, my lad.
Yeah, he was given a false page, allegedly. When he was doing,
page of a script.
He was the whole join me and this kind of stuff.
Right.
The original line he was given was Obi-Wan killed your father. But James Earl Jones, who obviously recorded the voice for Vader, he was given the real line, obviously.
And then didn't Lucas pulled fucking Luke Skywalker into a room and said, right, this is the actual line.
They did, yeah. They said they pulled him aside. And said, he's going to give you this line, but the real line's this. So react as if you're saying to giving you this line. Obviously, Ham was kind of confused thinking, why can't you just give him the line anyway? But because this is the time. Secret. This is the time before internet.
I was going to say it's pre-internet. Yeah. Imagine keeping that a secret now.
Yeah.
No, exactly. You just go anywhere because you got Twitter now and Facebook and Instagram, and you can't keep a secret for anything.
No.
And obviously, yeah. But not long after that, I think episode 4 was shown on TV.
Okay.
And I felt it was quite scary actually. Especially when you go, because some guys' arm getting cleaved off and there's blood there. Thinking,
For you, it's quite bloody.
Yeah.
And Aunt Beru and Aunt Glowen, skeletal burned to death.
Yeah, exactly. That's
quite
freaky for you. You couldn't do that to that.
No.
But when did you start getting into horror movies though? Wasn't that around the same time you started getting into all of that?
Yeah, the horror film thing came into it around about not long afterwards, because I didn't care. My mum and dad would obviously say don't come in here because we're watching a scary film, and I'm like, okay, but I'd walk in there anyway.
But you would just that just made it worse.
They were too into it, and I just sit there with my hands over my eyes. But Yeah.
So you got the first taste of blood.
Yeah, I got the blood taste from that.
Oh,
My mum just said, "No, it's not real." I was like, "Okay,
I
sure."
was going to say, you knew it was a film.
I just had a problem with decapitations back when I was a kid. I didn't like that.
It's
Getting stabbed.
It's probably quite normal, I'd
Yeah,
imagine.
getting stabbed,
Yeah.
impaled, strangled,
I'd say
drowned,
that.
no problem. But as soon as someone's head comes off, that's it.
I'd say that's natural to be not liking that. Yeah.
It's still a bit squeamish. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll touch on the horror thing a bit later with another.
Of course,
another
yes.
80s classic.
Yes, there'll be quite a number of them, I'm sure, in this series. Mark, you wanted to
Yes.
discuss.
The one from this year that sticks out for me is Raging Bull. It's
Okay.
Martin Scorsese's and Robert De Niro. At the time when Scorsese made it, it was going to be his last film because he'd been quite ill in hospital for like a year or so. He had quite a long time because he's severely asthmatic, and then he developed in his private life a really bad cocaine habit.
Oh wow.
And he was close to death, and I think he credited De Niro with kind of pulling him out of it, saying,
Oh,
"Listen,
wow.
yeah, no, he did. He said when he was in hospital, we come and visit him a lot, and said, the best thing for you to when you're back on your feet is to go, to do what you love most, which is to direct films." And he says, "And I got something I think we could do together." And he took a lot of persuading Scorsese because he's not a natural sports lover, and he didn't really know about boxing. But then he sort of sat on it, and then I was watching some old films. I think it was The Champion with Kirk Douglas, and it's like an old black and white film. And he saw it as like the gladiator in the ring in the arena, and the blood sort of flying onto the fur coats of the rich people in the audience and things like that, and he suddenly something clicked for him. He's like, no, I can do it. But because he thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to throw everything I know about films into this film. Like, I'll throw all my things I've learned, all my bag of tricks, I'm going to put it in there. If this is going to be my last one, then this will be it. And at the time, the film stock wasn't, it was fading at the time. Like, it wasn't going to last, so he decided to do it black and white.
Early sort of technology.
Yeah, the film stuff wasn't what it was. So he thought, we're black and white, it will last. Plus it fits for the period of the 1940s in which it's set. So he thought, well, yeah, let's do it. And so in that time, De Niro's at the height of his method madness sort of thing, and he bulked up to middleweight fighting weight. And then they paused filming for 6 months while he sort of went to Italy and ate his way around Europe as well as Italy, and then put on too much weight because all the muscle mass he put on as the boxer immediately turned to fat a lot quicker than he expected. And so before he said we could film like 20 takes if we had to of a certain scene, and now we can imagine about 3 because his breathing was all struggling and thing. He was too overweight.
Wow.
But he was dedicated to the role to that point. But ultimately he got an Oscar for it. De Niro, he's best actor and everything, and Scorsese should have won. That year it went to Robert Redford for his film debut for Ordinary People. A lot of people define it as the first sort of great film of this year. That's to me, and it holds up still now.
Okay, so we should move on swiftly. I'll talk about Airplane because Airplane is, I tell you, I think the first movie of its kind. It's got to be, right? Because it was
the
very
spoof.
Yeah, the spoof.
Yeah, they had spoofs.
You had the Three Stooges and stuff, and all of that kind of weirdness. But
you had Get Smart, kind of before that. The spy series.
Okay.
That was Mel Brooks kind of created that, and that was a kind of that humour, that kind of spoof humour, where it was.
But as a movie form,
in movie form, it's.
This doesn't fucking pull any punches. It opens up with just the first gag.
It's literally the whole film is gag after gag after gag. I don't know any other film that has
just continuous
jokes,
relentless gag. I mean, you look at something in the background. There's something going on in the background.
Everything is crammed. I think the directors who put it, it's like you push everything into the wardrobe and you think, oh, we'll just squeeze one more thing in there, one more thing. And it's literally busting it at the seams as pizzas.
There's so many moments I could pick out, but I think my favourite idea of this film is that you. I have to be careful with how I approach this, but it's these two black guys sitting down and they're just talking to each other like, oh hey man, yeah, oh shit man, This lady's okay, I can speak jive, and she starts talking back to them. And it's the funniest thing I've ever fucking seen, man.
You couldn't do it today.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
Job ain't got no brains anyhow.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. But I mean, like, there's so many other jokes that go close to the bone.
You got the pilot making
those really
suggestive.
You know, never seen a grown man naked.
Yeah.
I've been to Turkish prison.
Have you been in the Turkish prison? Do you like movies about gladiators?
Yeah. Relentless jokes.
Yeah. But that's all they are. It's just sort of that sort of humour. It's just he's spoken. It's never sort of.
But like, because obviously some of the jokes are planned and they're constructed and stuff. But I know for a fact that there must be moments where they chose takes because the actor decided to act a certain way.
Well, what's also great is that the actors they chose were proper actors. They weren't comedians. So you got someone like Leslie Nielsen, who we all think is hilarious now.
I think up until this point he was doing serious
things. Yeah, he was the captain on the Poseidon Adventure. You know,
right?
And I mean, now it's quite funny when you watch it. And you think, well, of course it's bound to capsize. Look who the captain is. You know, but he was a straight actor, and as was the guy who played the captain of the plane.
And he plays it seriously.
No, that's why it's funny. The fact is that not one person in this film plays it for laughs. They play it entirely, with the exception, I suppose, of how about some more coffee, Johnny? No thanks. He's the one guy who's genuinely having fun and making jokes to the camera. But everyone else is actually playing it straight as if it was a real disaster movie.
I do want to nod back to the pilot again because there's a bit towards the end, right? Where he's eating the fish or whatever it is. And
the doctor's describing the Simpsons.
They're describing behind him what's going on, and he's actually going through it. And there's this one bit where he's
start feeling dizzy, and then he'll start getting a rash, and he'll start with flatulence,
and then he'll start dribbling, and then he goes like a baby would do. I lost it.
It's brilliant.
Man, I nearly died. The whole Saturday Night Fever routine.
Because that kind of that puts it at a time and place because it was obviously spoofing things that were popular at the time, and that was one of them.
The opening was Jaws, wasn't it?
The opening was Jaws, with
Jaws
the fin going through the clouds. So it's it was
first of its kind.
Of its kind, and then they obviously went on to did another airplane film, and then of course they had the Naked Guns films on the back of them, you know.
The Fast and Police Squad.
Police Squad, that was the precursor to that.
Oh, they fell in love with Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, he was a godsend to them because they actually designed everything around him after that, you know.
You can't tell me for another 2 hours? No, we can't see it for 2 hours. it's just like this gag after gag.
Yeah.
They get to a hospital. What is it? It's a large bit of a patient, but don't worry about that right now.
But that's not important right now. If you want to watch bollocks, then you don't have to think, and you want to laugh, then Airplane is one for you, mate.
That's one, yeah.
What do we move on to? What do we want to discuss? Because there's quite a few left to talk about.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, the biggest films that year, obviously, Alan's Empire Strikes Back was number 1. Airplane was number 2.
Stir Crazy
with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. I mean, that was great. That was their second film after...
their second duo?
After Silver Streak. Which is Alan and I.
Patrick McGraw. Did they do See No Evil after this?
That was about that was the third one they did.
Right.
Yeah, it is Spacey. But Stir Crazy is great because they actually filmed that in a real prison. And
really?
What's great about these two, I've got to say, that like jazz musicians, they riff off each other because they improvise a lot. And on Silver Streak, they improvised a lot and just let them go. But both Wilder and Pryor said, like, in their private lives, they never hung out together. The only time they ever saw each other was when they made these films. And he said it's only for some reason, some kind of chemistry between them. They put them on screen.
Each other out?
No, they didn't not like each other. They respect each other immensely. But they just privately, Gene's sit down with a nice cup of Earl Grey and a biscuit, and that time Richard Pryor was a raving cocaine abusing nutter. So their lives wouldn't not necessarily mix, but on set and when the cameras are rolling, Gene Wilder said, I don't know what it was, and Richard Pryor kind of said, he says, we're not even going to try and explain why, But for some reason, he just comes alive and he says, I'll do something which will inspire Richard to reply with something, and I'll reply with something. We haven't planned anything. And they will literally... There's a scene in Stir Crazy where they arrive in the prison for the first time, and they're just about to go in their cell, and Gene Wilder breaks down and says, oh my God, we're in prison. And he's just like, I'm glad you just realised that, motherfucker. We're gonna get, And he freaks out, and he starts jumping on the guards' backs and freaking out, and Richard Pryor's trying to calm him down. And he calms Gene Wilder down, because Gene Wilder does hysterical, brilliant.
Oh, he's brilliant at it,
his breakdown, even at the end of Willy Wonka and everything. Yeah. He's just he does hysterical brilliant. So he just calms him down, and you can tell it was improvised, and the guards are trying not to laugh. So he just calms him down, and then they goes, "You all right? Yeah, I'm all right now. I'm fine. I'm sorry. I apologise." And then Richard Pryor goes, ah! And he rips off his shirt, and then he freaks out, and he tries to calm him down. And it's brilliant to watch. It's a good...
They just worked.
And he said, we didn't try and question it, but he said, we just rolled with it. And what you see on screen is what happened.
I know that a lot of TV shows copied things that they did.
Yeah.
In terms of the situations that they got themselves.
Yeah,
in.
but it's not the same, because
it's not.
The magic's not there. From Silver Streak, Alan will tell you there's their first film, and Richard Pryor doesn't show up for the first hour or so.
That's right. It's a Gene Wilder show.
And then suddenly, because they suddenly got together, and the director's like, well, hang on a minute. This isn't in the script. I'll just roll with it.
Probably that scene in the toilets.
But
we try and get him on the train somehow.
Exactly.
He's got to disguise himself in a way that you wouldn't get away with.
Exactly. You
wouldn't get
away with that now. But at the time they rolled with it, and it's a classic. It's a great.
And they gelled so well.
Yeah, they gelled so well, and they thought we can't not use these two thing, and they only made 4 films, I think, ultimately. Together.
You'll find throughout this series that we're doing that there's a lot of this firsts element, because it's the studios and the producers giving these people a chance, and this is probably our running theme throughout the whole talk of this series, is that if you give little guys a chance that shows some promise, then you'll produce some really good work. And a lot of the work that's come out of the 80s is because of this.
Yeah.
Giving people a chance and letting them run their mouth and ad-lib and stuff, and directors find some beauty in it, they put it together, and then the audience fucking love it. And
this leads nicely onto what we mentioned earlier, Heaven's Gate, because at the time the director was in charge, and Heaven's Gate was a film directed by Michael Cimino, and he just made The Deer Hunter, which was a big hit and won loads of awards and a big box office. And this film called Heaven's Gate, which is Christopher Walken and Jeff Bridges and Willem Dafoe's first role in cinema, and it went grossly over budget, grossly over time, and it was the film that's picked out of basically ending the 70s era of the directors, the auteur, the director's medium, and suddenly it became, as the 80s went on, more of a studio-based thing where they called the shots rather than the creativity of the writers and directors calling the shots. It was in the 70s. It was all Coppola and Scorsese and Spielberg and things they could do no wrong, and the studios trusted them to do the great work and kind of left them to it. But this film is usually singled out as the end of that era because it went so over budget, and when it was released it was a massive flop, and that was the
it's
end
probably when they saw the real dollar signs, right? And all these producers at the top, they're like, oh, we can make it better, we can do more, we can make more. And when you start to have that attitude, it's just like the creativity just loses its luster, and you end up with bullshit that we've got today. Most of the shit that comes out is just fucking garbage.
As Alan was saying, with the horror films things, there was quite a couple this year.
Yeah, there was a couple. One of my favourites is Alligator. Robert Forster. It's the old fairy tale. There's a
kind of Jaws
crocodile down the in the sewer somewhere, but in this case an alligator. But it was one of those
Jaws.
I don't think I've ever seen this one.
Oh, okay,
it's good.
It's
hokey.
It's a B movie
because they start off with a little baby alligator that flushed down the toilet, and
it's basically,
as it grows into this mega beast.
Oh right. And start stalking them.
This family go to Florida. Father, mother, and their little girl. They go to an alligator show, and the mum says, "Okay, you can take a pet home," and basically he buy this little baby alligator. Again, you probably wouldn't get away with it.
Of all pets.
Of all pets. And
This
then,
is the 80s.
yeah, and then they get it home, and time progresses, and the dad has a bit of a meltdown over something, and he just basically grabs the alligator out of his tank and basically throws it down the toilet. Just says, "Don't worry, we'll tell it died."
Bastard.
And this is I think it's in Chicago. I think it's a set mainly.
Yeah.
It's in Chicago.
Yeah.
But obviously, as time progresses, there's a pharmaceutical firm who are testing chemicals out on animals, like dogs, for instance.
Okay.
It's mainly dogs.
Right.
The dogs aren't taken to very well, and they're dying. So they're hiring this pet shop owner, played by an actor from The Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh,
Not my cigarette.
Oh, the guy I played on.
Yeah.
the one you played,
Not
yeah.
his cigarettes, my cigarette.
Mr. Cheswick.
That's it.
Cheswick,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a pet shop owner
Yeah.
who incidentally sells Robert Forster's the main character, who's the detective in this, a dog. But he's supplying this pharmaceutical company with animals. And obviously they're testing them, the dogs are dying, they're then hiring him to dispose of them, and obviously he's thinking, I'll just chuck them in the sewer. And not knowing that they're actually, this
They
alligator...
thrive in sewers.
This alligator is eating the dead dogs. And all the chemicals inside are actually turning this alligator into something
A
of,
mega beast.
of huge
Yeah,
proportions.
how big is the alligator in the
I
end?
think it goes to something like 30 metres or something.
Well,
Like
fuck
30
hell.
feet.
No, it's huge, and
Yeah.
eventually it breaks through the concrete out
That's
into the
it.
street. It's a great sort of...
Through concrete.
Yeah,
Well, that's how strong it is.
yeah, it's...
Right,
I say it's a
okay.
B move.
It's a B
A
move,
lot of-
but
a
the
lot of
effects,
the-
it's all but...
I know you have to suspend disbelief.
not
Yeah,
motion
yeah,
capture,
yeah,
but it's
cool.
kind of a lot of model work.
A lot
and
of, it's basically they built a street,
Right.
like a scale street, a smaller size scale street, and they basically got a real alligator, and they just got to walk it up this set.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh no, it looks
And it
for
looks
the time.
pretty cool.
I remember that and the alligator hunter getting eaten.
Yeah, Henry Silver,
Held
yeah.
with Colonel Brock.
Colonel Brock, yes, because he's getting interviewed
Oh,
by the.
what name.
He's getting interviewed by the.
He gets interviewed by this glam TV news reporter, and he tries to seduce her by making erotic noises that alligators make.
That's the sound of an alligator.
Ugh.
And he goes. What if he's looking for a partner in the wild? He goes, well, he makes it sound like this.
Yeah.
And
He starts to hear grunting.
he's grinding at her. And it's his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's taking great pleasure in this.
Yeah, he
Pulls a
knows.
gun, does he?
Yeah, he does. He's
And I say spoiler alert. He's a bit like Quint in Jaws. So
yeah, it's very much a Jaws rip-off in a way.
Yes, it's one of those kind of films that really borrows from
Jaws
a more successful.
Yeah.
Oh, when Jaws came out, he had 1,000,001 copies.
You had Orca, the killer whale, and Piranha. And this
Free
one,
Willy.
Alligator. Well, I don't know about Free
I
Willy.
think Orca and Piranha were 70. They were in the 70s, weren't they? Yeah,
They were, yeah. But no, I
Alligator-
just mean on the back of
Alligator was the first 80s.
the
Jaws
80s one, yeah.
rip-off.
So let's move on to Shining.
Yeah,
Keep
okay.
the horror theme alive.
Yeah, horror films. There's there's quite a few horrors. There's the John Carpenter's The Fog as well that come out this year.
Yeah, John Carpenter, The Fog. I think Jamie Curtis was also in that. So he used her from obviously 2 years prior from Halloween.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, quite a prolific period at this time, didn't
He
he?
was quite dominant, John Carpenter,
Yeah.
in the 80s. Because obviously, I think on one of our coming up episodes, we'll talk about a very
Escape from New York.
Escape
and,
New York, The Thing coming up.
The Thing, yeah. Big
another
Trouble.
Episode.
Yeah,
Big Trouble in Little China.
yeah. But The Shining, it should be talked about.
Yeah, this is the only Kubrick film I like, and
Yeah.
I know that he heavily borrowed from Hitchcock's style
Yeah.
for Shining. So I
Well, I'd say it's a
wanted
bit
to
more
see
cerebral
that.
than Hitchcock. You know, it's more
But
a
it's,
thinking
the
man's horror
pacing
film.
and the pacing and the build
Yeah.
and the whole tension is definitely Hitchcock.
Yeah.
But it's good because it cleverly interprets something. I don't think Stephen King's version of The Shining is all that great, and I think
Right.
that Kubrick sort of
That's interesting.
interpreted it kind of slightly better because I've seen Stephen King's version.
Yeah, he
of
did
it.
a two-part TV. episode,
and it was a bit lame. I don't know. I didn't like the direction of the story they went with. I kind of preferred Kubrick's one
Fair enough.
because I thought it was a bit more creepy. I think Kubrick got that one right, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't like the casting of Shelley Duvall though.
No.
No, I just got really pissed off with her as the film went on because she was just such a flake. And I don't know whether he was forcing her to be like that,
Yeah.
or whether that was her characteristic anyway. But
No, well, it's Kubrick. I mean, to me, each one of his films is a bit special because every one he did was in a different genre, and this is obviously a horror genre.
Well, he was effective, which is why I don't like. I mean, like Clockwork Orange, I don't like because it's effective.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
it does its job, and
Yeah.
I don't like that because it's really uncomfortable. To
Yeah,
watch.
no, I mean, but to me, there's not only that, but there's the technical stuff as well. He's very innovative, and a lot of in The Shining, there's Steadicam use, which is
right.
first use of it. Well, I think was in Rocky a few years before, and
With the circling.
well, not just that of Rocky running up the steps of the museum and thinking it created a smooth glide.
Oh yeah,
and,
of course, yeah.
and stuff, and so, but this he took it a step further and had it mounted to as Danny the kid is riding his tricycle around the hotel, and it's literally following it at sort of ground level.
The sound design.
The sound design is great because he goes from the hardwood to the carpet to
Very unnerving.
and the final sequence in the maze is all sort of steady cammed and things. So he technically he's always sort of pushing the envelope in that sense.
Did you have a favourite moment in that scene, Alan?
The Shining.
Yeah.
I think as soon as he starts going nuts and he's typing on the old typewriter.
But that's funny though,
Yeah.
because he was typing that all along.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? So he was mad to begin with.
Yeah, he's there to write his I suppose his novel, isn't he? That's why he's there thinking, okay, look after this big hotel.
He's going to give me a chance to write.
A chance to sit here during this quiet season and
Go insane.
write my book and whatnot.
But he's
And then all of a sudden he's just writing this.
So
shit.
it's that scene where she turns up and she finally decides to look at what he's been writing.
writing, yeah. And what's interesting about that is, in this is so very Kubrick, is that you go through each page and it all says all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and it's all written in different styles and fonts and paragraphs and things,
Which is a kind of an oxymoron of itself.
yeah. But if she flicks through it, each page says it, because she has to flick through them all. So they had to have pages and pages of this stuff.
yes, some poor bastard had to
But
write all
the same poor bastards also had to write the exact same thing in French for the French versions and Italian.
No.
Yeah, because he couldn't have he didn't want to have the subtitle say all work no play makes Jack a boy as they're flicking through. He could have done that, but because there's subtitles. He thought no, I want them to read that's the rumor anyway.
Oh,
Whether
that's some fucking love for the craft.
whether it's true or not, I don't know. But that's
Back in
the
days before
rumor.
computers, where you just copy and paste.
I'm sure the whether it's
You
true or
better
not.
be paying my
But
ass
he-
for this shit.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy director who was. But whether that's true or not, I don't know. We'll have to if you've seen the French or Italian or Spanish versions, then please
Yeah, let us know.
let us know.
Yeah.
But
I want to talk about the ending because that last shot really confused a lot of people, and I know that there's a lot of nods. I know Kubrick put in some subtle references to the moon landings. There's a whole video on it, and it's really interesting, and I kind of have agreed and bought into it, so do check that out. But the ending is where everyone's sort of slightly confused, because it focuses on that picture, and it's of...
Well, Jack's in the
character.
picture.
Gala party, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the New Year's Eve party, and the hotel has him now. I mean, he's
Is that what
he's
the
become-
suggestion is?
Yeah. That's the way I interpret it is that he's now part of the ghost of the hotel,
Right.
because he's
Well,
physical being is frozen in. Well, spoiler alert: is frozen to death in the maze, so he's dead. So the
That's
hotel,
true.
the ghost has him now in this hotel, and that's how he appears in this photograph.
But there's that whole scene with, I think it's Death. Is it? Is it Death that he's talking to, or it's the devil? With the janitor guy,
the barman.
The barman.
Yeah,
guy.
you got the barman and you got the other butler,
he-
the butler who Jack says, no, you were the caretaker, and he says, no,
it's you. You've been
you're
here
the
all along.
caretaker. I'm yeah, exactly, because he says, no, you told me the caretaker was you, and you killed your twin girls with an axe. Great Mr. Grady, his name is. He says Delbert Grady.
So is he suggesting that there's a whole reincarnation thing going on, and this guy keeps going being
Yeah, kind
born
of,
and
yeah.
then going to the hotel
Yeah.
and doing the same thing repeatedly over history?
Well, the great thing is it's left to your imagination. Nothing's underlined.
Yeah,
So
and that's why I liked it, because I don't think Stephen King's version had that.
No.
Or, it was just a bit weird.
Yeah.
But-
But keep with the horror theme. There's a certain hockey mask wearing.
Well, that's slightly incorrect. Slightly.
Slightly. Oh yes, no, not in this
He
version.
didn't have his hockey
Yeah.
mask in
This-
this one.
I take that back. Sorry.
This is Friday the 13th. Kickstarter to a series of 8, 9, about 12 films, I think we're on.
12.
Yeah, about 12. There was 8 of them in between 80 and 89, all owned by Paramount at this point. They didn't sell it off to New Line until.
So it's a studio-based
92.
film.
So yeah. But Friday the 13th was the start. Sean S. Cunningham created this based on the success of another holiday-based movie, Halloween, in '78, and thought, okay, let's just make something out of Friday the 13th. In which case, obviously everyone knows it's Jason with a hockey mask, who actually didn't wear this hockey mask until Friday the 13th Part 3. The end of Friday the 13th is obviously this one girl. She survives. She manages to off Betsy Palmer at the end, and she jumps in a canoe and thinks, I'm just gonna snooze in this and get away from it all because
why not?
Fucking traumatized.
Yeah.
And she kind of wakes up, and all of a sudden this very odd-looking boy just leaps out the lake, grabs her and drags her in the water.
It's a proper shock ending.
Yeah, it's a very very shock ending. There's a lot of red herrings in Friday. One person dies in the woods, and you literally see a man's hand with a knife going.
I don't like that. I don't like when they actually do things like that. Yeah, make it a bit more.
And I believe this was Kevin Bacon's first film.
Yeah,
I could be
I was
mistaken.
just about to say that.
He dies in such a horrible way.
Yeah,
man.
she's under the bed, and she just grabs him round the head, and then I think she ends up spearing him through the neck from under the bed.
Oh, it was amazing how they did
that done a lot. I need to really look at this, but I think Tom Savini did a lot of the effects for the Friday the 13th series. I know he did the makeup. If I'm not mistaken, a younger Stan Winston was involved in the Friday the 13th series.
Oh wow! Oh really?
I think he was the one who came up with some of the Jason makeup in the later entries.
Oh right.
I'm surprised some people detach themselves from horror films. They just do it.
They don't like it. Some people just. I do get it because you've got.
Christopher Lee was like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
We went a few years back to see him, and
about 2002, this wasn't it?
Yeah, and they were told he didn't want to talk or sign anything about Dracula.
Right.
So no horror stuff.
He was happy to do Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and everything, and James Bond, but he didn't want to.
He raised an eyebrow to me when I gave him the Wicker Man to sign.
Oh really?
Yeah.
He went, oh.
Yeah,
What's your name, young man? I went, Alan.
Alon.
And,
yes, we must mention that Alan met the late great Christopher Lee.
Could Alan take a picture of you? And he goes, oh, right, certainly.
Yeah, I got. In those days, it was a throwaway camera. It wasn't the best quality. You have to get that scanned. Actually, we should put it on.
Get it scanned, pass it through Remini.
Yeah, because he was.
It was a gent. He was very welcoming.
Yeah.
It was very welcoming.
Yeah.
You're right. He signed it though, right?
He did sign it.
Oh yeah, but he's proud of that film.
To Alan from Christopher Lee. Well, so where with like Friday the 13th here, it is at a time when the practical effects were in full swing. There was no computers or anything. Everything was done practically.
Oh,
there's a film there that we should mention for the last of its kind, thank God. When time ran out, this was the last of the 70s disaster genres.
Remind us of what you mean.
The disaster genre of the 70s, it was a very big film genre of like, started with Airport, I think it was, and there's a natural disaster, like, a pilot's knocked unconscious, who's going to fly the plane?
Right.
And then, that's what Airplane spoofing. And then the Silent Adventure, and then the Tower and Inferno. And
so this was the last.
Earthquake was same year, I think.
Is that James Franciscus?
No, but he's in this one.
He's in this one, okay.
Yeah, James Franciscus, and it's called When Time Ran Out, and it's basically the last feature film produced by Irwin Allen, and Irwin Allen was the master of disaster, he called himself, and because he made a killing with Poseidon Adventure and Tower and Inferno and so on. But this one, basically, When Time Ran Out, as Allen rightly called it, when the budget ran out. Because it's absolutely appalling. It's set on a island like somewhere like Hawaii, where there's this volcano where they've just built this super rich resort for people. They said, the volcano will never erupt, and it's got people, some A-list people like Paul Newman and Jacqueline Bisset, Ernest Borgnine, all previous people who worked with
of course, because Borgnine was in Poseidon Adventure.
And Newman was Tower and Inferno. I think they basically had a 2-film contract, so it was a mixture of those casts. I don't think they could get out of it, to be perfectly honest with you. But he was clever, I think. Yeah. So basically the volcano erupts, and it's done very badly. You know, I mean, it's not even done with models and things like that. It's just all like
plasticine.
Yeah, it's just dreadful, and so the
strawberry
the
syrup.
big build up to basically.
It's a project on film.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrendous, and it's it's good. And the only reason I mention it is it basically is a great full stop of the 70s of where that type of film stopped. Funnily enough, in the 90s it was resurrected, the disaster genre.
Well, that was thanks to Independence Day.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Independence Day. They had that kind of.
Or was there something else before?
No, I
don't
think it
remember.
was.
So it was 96. So what we had Volcano about 96 or 97.
Yeah, but they did Volcano and Dante's
Yeah,
Peak.
when was Dante's Peak? After.
About 97.
Okay.
So basically, and then Daylight. I think there was another one with
Yeah.
Stallone and stuff. So it kind of had a mini revival, this disaster genre thing. But at the time, this was like no one wanted to see it. It was terrible by all accounts. It was
I bet Paul Newman was upset.
No, he'll I think if anyone mentioned it to him, he sort of just
Backhanded.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I'm sure he got paid
dare
a
you
few
talk.
quid. But you can see in the film actually, and Alan can testify to it, that they're not exactly giving their best in the film. They're like they're literally phoning in is a great expression. So they literally just, and as Alan said, yeah, when time ran out, when the budget ran out, it was just absolutely.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
You can get, we have to end it there because we want to get as many
They
showings.
the money on Paul Newman.
They did. They basically hyped it up with all these big stars, but I think people once they sat down and thought, actually, this is horrendous.
We should brush on Superman 2 and Smoking the Bandit too, really, before we sign off.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Because
Superman 2, isn't it?
you were the guys that got me into Smokey and the Bandit. This was completely unknown to me, and I think it was the Cannonball Run
Yeah.
that really did it, because after I'd watched the Cannonball Run, I was like, okay, let's
We'll
watch
talk about
Smokey.
that in the next one, 'cause that's next year.
And they're such waste of time, but they're so funny.
that you can see they're having enormous fun making them.
Yeah,
and it
oh,
shows on
totally.
screen. Yeah, and their fun, rubs off on the viewer. You can see how.
Well,
much
you can
great
see
stuff.
how much of an impression it has. Send something to the WhatsApp group. It just sends anything. Just put anything, and you'll see.
Oh, okay.
But no, this is the impression that these films have. That's my audio message for the group chat.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, no, that's to me that sums up those films really. But that laugh knows that you're in good hands, because Bert's having a great time, the viewer's having a great time.
Just the teeth and mustache.
He was the big #1 box office star of the 70s. And funny enough, this decade things started to go south for poor old Bert. That good old boy sort of thing didn't last into the 80s as much. He did alright. The next year, 81, he had Cannonball Run, and that was massive. But I think that was the beginning of the end for poor old Bert for the 80s. But no, Smoky The Bandit 2 was great, because obviously the first one was a big hit.
Yeah, huge success.
Yeah.
It was like top 5, was it?
Yeah, it was because they didn't expect it to be a big hit. And the director was a former stuntman, never made a film before. I think, and that's the thing. And it literally got the ball rolling, and they were able to get financed and got the cast they wanted. You got Jackie Gleason as the sheriff. You some bitches couldn't close an umbrella. it's so many great one-liners, and I think Alan and I we sort of grew up on those films. They're always on TV.
Oh yeah.
And so they made 3 of those ultimately in the end.
On a rainy sort of afternoon.
I remember my dad actually recording Smoky the Bandit 2 on TV. And I wore the tape out. I actually watched it.
Yeah.
Rewound it, watched it again, rewound it.
It's
watched
got
it again,
tremendous repeat value.
I think I watched it 5 times.
Yeah, I've watched it as much as you. They're not groundbreaking in terms of filmmaking, but they just got tremendous
They're good for
repeat
a
value.
laugh.
They make you laugh. Yeah, and the stunts are great with the cars and.
And
And it is genuinely funny as
Yeah,
well.
it
Jackie
is.
Gleason is just on top form.
Yeah,
It's really-
Plus, this is the one with Dom DeLuise as the Italian doctor trying to get to.
Oh, is that the dodgy bloke in the van?
No,
that's
he's the Italian.
Cannibal Run.
Oh, that's Cannibal Run.
No, he's an Italian doctor that they basically they picked up an elephant.
Yeah.
And the elephant's pregnant, so they said we need someone medical to look at it, and then they find this doctor who's like having lunch, and he's treating someone with swamp fever, And so he says, "Can you have a look at this patient? She's rather big, doctor. We must warn you, she's rather big. Big is no problem. You know, I tell you, in Sicily, I have this woman. Her name is Tutantessi, and then you hear this. She's as big as a house, and then you hear this elephant roar, and he comes running around. Oh my God, she's even bigger than Tutantessi." Yeah, so he's.
And Bob's his ambulance driver.
Oh yeah, Bob. Yeah, Bob.
Bob, you son of a bitch, Bob. Bob.
Bob drives off without him, and the poor guy with swamp fever in the back. Yeah, but it's they're great films, and what with that and then Superman 2.
Yeah, Superman 2. He's talking about Gene Hackman. That is his relative finest, I think.
Well,
I liked it, man.
Superman 2 was shot, believe it or not, at the same time as Superman 1, or 70% of it was shot.
So it was shot with Dick Donner, wasn't it?
And the it was Richard Donner who went on to do the Weapon films.
Richard Donner.
And the Goonies and everything. You know, he's tremendous. And this big film before this was The Omen. But what happened is they had a falling out with the studio, and they fired Richard Donner, and they hired this guy called Richard Lester, who made the Beatles films, Hard Day's Night, Help, and things. So he was a much more lighter director and a lot more comedic director, and you can see in this film that his reshoots and things he added, there's a lot more sort of comedic moments.
Did the Eiffel Tower sequence with Richard Griffiths.
Yes, right, with old Uncle Monty.
Yeah,
and he also added more things with the villains blowing the air down the street and causing a
that kind of
twister of that hurricane, and there's a guy's wig falls off and ice cream lands on someone's face. So there's all sort of humour like that was added, and the kind of story is a little bit all over the place in terms of, you know, because you've got these great actors playing the villains. You've got 3 villains as well as Gene Hackman. You've got Terence Stamp as General Zod, and who's acts it fantastically. He's over the top, but just the right amount. And because
comic book villain,
and they arrive on Earth and basically want to take over instantly. And you know, they go to the White House. They think this is where the leader of
the free world is.
Yes, and has to kneel before Zod.
Kiss my ass.
Yeah, so
before Zod.
Yeah, so, kneel before Zod. So it's, and in the mix you kind of got the original, you know, Christopher Reeves as Superman, and who's the definitive Superman for my money.
Superman, mate.
You know, he really believed he was that guy.
Oh,
you know,
mate,
so his own story in this version though kind of got sidetracked a little bit. That's mainly because of the replacement director and stuff, and they fixed it with the Richard Donner cut.
He came back and
they found original footage, and what happened was the Marlon Brando was supposed to return in the sequel. And they got an argument about money, so when they originally released the sequel, they cut Brando's scenes out and reshot them with the actress who played his mum. And so when he loses his powers, originally the mum did the scene. So by that time they released the second one, Brando had since passed, so they were able to put his scenes back in, and you can see Reeve acting with Brando and giving him his powers back.
There's a problem with the Dick Donner cut.
Yeah,
there's a massive problem, and I have this problem with it.
What's
it's
that?
to do with the guy. If you remember Superman 2, he has a problem with that guy in the diner.
Oh,
he goes, "Don't worry, this is only a minute steak."
Yeah,
he says
the bully who beats up Clark Kent. Yeah,
So
and he's got no powers, so he can't fight
this
back.
This guy kicks the shit out of Clark Kent, and then Clark Kent thinks, "Screw this, I'm going back to being Superman again." So he goes, does his thing, and he does the thing he does. He goes around the world to turn time back. Right? No. If he's turned time back, this incident with this guy didn't happen. Why did he have to then go back to the diner and beat this guy up again?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's unfair, really.
Yeah,
it's like, what the fuck did I do?
No, but he was still.
He had the shit kicked out of him.
I think he deserved. I think it's justified. The guy was a bully anyway. He would have done it to someone else.
Yeah, to be fair. All right.
You know, he's Superman. He could have just taken.
He could have done.
Just let him drift into the galaxy.
That would have been a bit more harsh. Yeah.
It's very dangerous when you start to introduce time into things, into your plot line, because then people are just going to go, well, why didn't you just fucking go back before, right?
But no,
that's pretty much, you know, all.
Should we do a shout out of some? I can do a.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, there's quite a few that have come in. I just
want to give a shout out to some other films that they might for me stick out.
Well, for me, In Which Way You Can.
Yeah.
Sequel to Every Which Way But Loose. Clint Eastwood. And
the chimp or something.
Jeffrey Lewis, the orangutan Clyde.
Yeah.
And the old Black Widow gang and Sandra Locke, obviously. Not as good as Every Which Way But Loose, but yeah, one of my favourites.
It's a good one. For me, the Blues Brothers. classic.
Dan Aykroyd
And John Belushi, and it's
very well treasured movie.
And it's the start of a great run of films for John Landis. You know, he wants to do Trading Places and come to America.
This is his first.
We'll talk about that, but I just want to mention American Gigolo as well by Paul Schrader. That was a great film. That was the first of this decade. This sums up the 80s brilliantly because it's quite very stylish, very style over content almost, and it looks very 80s in terms of the lighting, the synth music.
Yeah.
Blondie doing the song "Call Me" and the wardrobe is very 80s. It's just the most 80s looking film of this year, I think.
Yeah.
It sort of set the trend.
I do want to just sort of nod to Mad Max, the first Mad Max, because this started the whole thing, but this was very weird. This is a very weird first entry. It's more of like a Pink Floyd music video more than a fucking, it was very surreal, and you don't really know what's happening. You feel slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it did serve because the second one was just absolutely fucking magic. Oh God, what's the second one called?
Road Warrior.
Road Warrior. Sorry, yes, of course. I love it, and I don't even know the name.
That's the next year, I think, isn't it? 81. Is it?
Yeah,
so we will be.
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah, Mad Max was 79.
Yeah, but no, it's 80.
Road Warrior was 82.
Yeah.
But we'll get there when the episode arrives.
I'm sure I will. Yeah. Also from childhood, Flash Gordon. Great Saturday afternoon
Flash
film.
Gordon, you two love that. I can't stop laughing at it.
Yeah.
Bored.
We like it. Yeah, all right.
Brian
it's not
Blessed at his best.
Yeah,
really.
Brian Blessed. Die! There's no need for a microphone with Brian Blessed around.
Yes.
And Timothy Dalton's in that as well.
Yeah, young Timothy pre-Bond.
Oh God, yeah, Remington Timothy.
Timothy with his and Timothy's actually playing it straight as an arrow, like he's taking it like it's
trying to.
Also, Crystal Maze host Richard O'Brien.
Richard O'Brien, yeah.
And there are others. They're good, but they're not really.
Yeah.
Well, that was great, but it sets up I think this basically. I think I want to highlight American Gigolo. That sets up for me the 80s, the look to come, the sharpness, the music. The end of the disco, and it's the start of the rock song and the saxophone on the soundtrack, and
we haven't even started talking about CaddyShack.
Oh no, CaddyShack is a good one actually. We should end on again, it's Harold Ramis who was Egon, Ghostbusters. That's all to come. Yeah. But he,
Bill Murray, Chevy Chase.
Yeah, it's the Saturday Night Live big screen version of Saturday Night Live, and for me, Rodney Dangerfield steals the film, along with Ted Knight as the judge.
And it also gave us the for the judge
we're waiting. Yeah, exactly.
Since.
Yeah, he's just constantly wound up throughout the film.
Yeah.
The judge, and but yeah, you got Chevy Chase casually. Just walking through the film. Yeah, he's basically. It's got one of your favourite lines in it, really, isn't it?
Smoke drugs, Tony. Yep, good.
Yeah. So you got that, and then Bill Murray playing this kind of obsessive greenskeeper who's trying to kill this gopher. So this is kind of one of his first big films. But no, for me, Rodney Dangerfield. Who ends with he wins the golf game at the end and ends with "Hey everyone, we're all gonna get laid," and they were like, "Way!" Which basically, I guess, is a good way to end it.
So that kind of really, it really does wrap up 1980. It's the start of such great things to come, and there's some brilliant movies on the horizon for 1980, and we can't wait to get there and start talking about them. I hope you've enjoyed this first episode. We hope you enjoyed this first episode. And it's goodbye from Mark.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from Alon.
Goodbye.
We'll see you next time, guys. See you later.